We will use this simple solid builder model to discuss ceilings. If you look in the upper toolbar and select the ceiling option, what you'll notice on the right in the catalog are unframed and framed ceiling options. In addition to that, each have different thicknesses and attributes. And if I click the ceiling options, you'll also see that we have options for ceiling by room, ceiling by perimeter, and by pick points. If I were to do by perimeter in this model, what you'll see that the ceiling tool knows where the perimeter of the building is and fills in one continuous ceiling around the whole perimeter. Many times you'd like to provide different ceiling types within a model, so by perimeter does not necessarily work. If we delete that and go back, you'll see that we have an option ceiling by room. Now in this case, I would like the bathroom to be its own flat ceiling, the closet to be that way, and we'll also put the 2 bedrooms with simple flat ceilings. But in this main room, the hallway would be flat, the main great room would be a tray ceiling, and we'd like to put a little gabled ceiling in the front entrance. So how do we do that? We'll go down below and go to the 2D mode, and then select ceiling by pick points. And now I can define this front entry, click around the perimeter of the front entry, repeat it for the main living room, and repeat it again for the hallway. And when I go to my 3D view and select the interior, you can see that the great room has its own ceiling, the entry has its own, and the hallway has its own. Now the hallway will leave flat, but the front entry would like to have that in a gabled appearance. So I can right click, go into properties, and we'll change that to cathedral. By default, we have a skirt width of 1 foot and a slope value of 45. So I'll let you see what that looks like. And what we'd like is a gabled ridge running in this direction with a pitch this way and this way. So we will select the 2 side arrows, deselect the front arrow. We'll right click and go into properties and set the skirt width to 0, leaving the slope value at 45. Then we'll switch to the front and the back, let's call it. And there we'll go to properties and we'll set that also to 0, but the slope value will change to 90, which is similar to a gable. And now if I turn the model, you'll see that I do have the appearance I would like with this gable and this slope, but the slope is too high. So then I'll just reselect the sides, deselect the front and the back, go into properties, and I'll set the slope value to 22 degrees. And at this point I can decide as if at 22 degrees, let me turn around, that I'll have plenty of room between the roof and the ceiling to get insulation in. And in this case, I'm comfortable with that. So we now have the front entry ceiling completed, and I can move to this great room ceiling, and I would just like to make that a simple tray. So I'll select tray. I'll leave the tray height at 1 foot, the skirt around the perimeter at 1 foot, and the slope value at 45. And if we go inside now and look at the model from the interior, you can see I've got a 45-degree slope, a 1 foot rise, flat ceiling in the hallway. I'll navigate over to the front entry, and there is our gabled front entry. So when I select the ceiling and right click, you can see I could curve, cut openings, remove openings, add nodes, remove nodes, and move an edge. I'll quickly just show you an option on the curve. If I select curved and select this side here, when I pull out, you can see then that we've got a curved ceiling at this point. If I were to go to cut opening, I could select and define an opening based on the dimensions, let's say, of a skylight that would be occurring. And when I now go back to my top view and turn on the framing mode, you'll see that the opening has been defined. The other option that you have, select the unframe and do your perimeter layout similar to what we've done here in the great room. And then right click, go into properties, and under specify framing, you can just turn on and assign the members. So yes for the joist, the rims, and yes for the header openings. And this still functions the same way. I could right click, cut an opening, and define a rectangle that would be cut for a skylight. So even though I selected an unframed ceiling, I can assign framing to it. While we have this independent ceiling that is basically floating in space, it'll be a good time to look at a few other options that relate to ceilings. If I select and right click, I can remove that opening by selecting remove opening and then just selecting the ceiling itself. I select the ceiling again and work with just this one right side, go into properties. You'll see that I have the ability to switch from straight to gable, which we saw on the front entry, or arched. And then under arched, you can enter a start angle, an end angle, and a radius. So if I increase the start angle to 60 and I lower the end angle to 15, you'll see I get an arched cove at the outside of the wall. I can also reduce the skirt width to 0, and then the arch will be occurring directly at the wall itself. This can be done simultaneously as you're selecting multiple arrows. The other option that we have, if I go back to the straight, is to switch from degrees, and then we have these various options, percent in one end, and then a pitch per 12. So most people use by 12. So I could enter 12/12 pitch. We'll put that skirt to 24 inches. And now you see we have a 12/12 pitch occurring with a 2-foot setback. If I would like all sides, I can select all the arrows. Once I have all the arrows selected, I can right click and change this to an 8/12 pitch. And we'll put a 36-inch skirt width. So we have a 36 skirt, 8/12 pitch, and let's raise it up to 24 inches high. And that's the result. So in working with ceilings, make sure you take advantage of the curve, the cut opening, remove opening, add node, remove node, and move edge. The property settings for your tray height, your width, the edge shape, straight, gabled, or arched, and then your slope value, normally in 12, but you have these other options, one in by degrees and by percent. And lastly, the ability to do an unframed ceiling that you can assign framing to if you like, a pre-framed ceiling, or suspended or porch, which mainly are textural differences. And then of course in your ceiling options themselves, by room, by perimeter, or by pick points.